Hey Gurudev, and thank you for joining us today. So let's continue our discussion on the Ganganagar Maha Satsang where Gurudev gave his talk. So why does a Guru's presence feel uplifting even before he speaks a word? Gurudev, a Guru's presence carries a uh, high vibration due to years of meditation, compassion, and inner purity. This energy fields influences the atmosphere. People feel lighter, happier, and peaceful even before the Guru speaks. Scientific terms like coherence, resonance, and entrainment can explain part of it, but the spiritual dimension goes beyond. The Guru radiates unconditional love. The mind naturally aligns to this frequency. This is why sitting in satsang feels transformative. Words are secondary, the presence itself is healing. Now, Gurudev said that the mind wants new things, but the heart loves the old things. How is this relevant to spiritual seekers? Neither the mind's craving for novelty creates restlessness, the heart's connection to the old values, the bonds, the memories creates stability. Spiritual growth requires balancing these. Meditation stabilizes the heart, wisdom disciplines the mind. Gurudev uses simple examples like technology and fashion to show how the modern world overstimulates the mind. A seeker must recognize and choose depth over excitement, essence over trends. That balance brings peace. Now, how does the satsang help remove the emotional heaviness? Like the satsang combines music, wisdom, silence, and collective energy. Music dissolves the emotional blocks, wisdom removes the confusion, silence deepens the awareness, and collective presence amplifies positivity. Gurudev's satsangs act like emotional detox. People cry, smile, heal, and feel renewed. It is not entertainment, it is purification. Regular satsang keeps the mind light and joyful. Now, what is the final takeaway from Gurudev's Ganganagar Satsang for a modern household? The message is simple yet profound. Recognize the Shiva within, live with innocence, meditate daily, serve joyfully, and trust that the Guru's presence removes all your worries. This brings harmony in relationships, stability in emotions, and purpose in life. Gurudev's wisdom transforms spirituality from ritual to living experience. Every home that embraces these teachings becomes a center of peace. Now, what Gurudev mentioned that the Guru comes to a town or village to take away people's sorrows. How does this role align with the Vedic understanding of a Guru? Yeah, Gurudev, yes, in the Vedic tradition, the Guru is described as Dukkha or Sukha Karta, one who removes the suffering and awakens the joy. When Gurudev says he comes to take away people's pain, he is not speaking metaphorically. The Guru's presence, his breath, and his silence absorb the heaviness carried by the seekers. This is why people feel lighter even without verbal interaction. The Vedas describe the Guru as a spiritual transformer, someone who takes the negative charge from devotees and fills them with sattva, clarity, and peace. Just like how a river purifies whoever touches it, the Guru's presence purifies the mental and emotional layers of the visitor. Gurudev also emphasizes that seekers must come with sincerity and surrender. When people bring their worries and place them at the Guru's feet, they experience a deep shift as stress reduces, hope rises, and the heart begins to heal. This psychological and spiritual cleansing is what Gurudev refers to when he says he comes to take their burdens. Thus, a true role, his role perfectly reflects the ancient Vedic image of the Guru, a compassionate guide who generously lifts a sorrow without expecting anything in return, and whose only intent is to see the seeker rise in joy and freedom. Now, Gurudev spoke about innocence being the residence of Bholenath. How can adults cultivate that same innocence in modern stressful life? Negative innocence in adults does not mean naivety or lack of experience. It means purity of intention, honesty of heart, and freedom from unnecessary mental complexity. Gurudev's statement reminds us that Shiva, as Bholenath, resides where there is simplicity and transparency. Children embody innocence naturally. Adults must rediscover it consciously. The first step is dropping overthinking. Most complications in adult life arise not from circumstances but from mental stories, assumptions, and fears. When the mind simplifies, the innocence shines. Second, living in the present moment reconnects us with our natural joy. Gurudev's breathing techniques like Sudarshan Kriya, Pranayama, meditation help the nervous system release past impressions, allowing innocence to surface. Third, acting without hidden motives is essential. Innocence grows when intentions are pure and actions are aligned with values. Fourth, adopting an attitude of wonder rather than judgment keeps the heart young. When adults look at life with curiosity instead of criticism, the divine presence becomes more palpable. Innocence does not reduce the competence, it enhances clarity, deepens the relationships, and invites grace. That is why Gurudev says Bholanath lives in innocence. It is the doorway to divine connection. Now, why does Gurudev place such emphasis on meditation as the foundation of spiritual life? The meditation is not a practice for Gurudev, it is the very essence of inner transformation. He often says that without meditation, spirituality remains theoretical. Meditation quiets the mind, heals the emotional wounds, enhances intuition, and anchors the seeker in the present moment. Gurudev's approach to meditation is unique because he makes it effortless. His guided meditations bypass the intellectual resistance and directly touch the deeper layers of consciousness. In meditation, the mind drops agitation and enters the stillness that Gurudev identifies as the Shiva Tattva. In our overstimulated world, meditation becomes both a spiritual necessity and a psychological antidote. It improves the mental clarity, emotional resilience, and sleep quality and creativity. But more importantly, it connects people to the Avinashi Tattva, the eternal essence beyond fear and anxiety. For seekers, meditation is the bridge between knowledge and experience. For families, it brings harmony. For society, it brings peace. That is why Gurudev insists meditate daily, because in that silence lies the key to joy, strength, and awakening. Now, Gurudev mentioned that one who meditates becomes naturally beautiful. What does this beauty refer to? The beauty Gurudev refers to is not physical but vibrational. When the mind is peaceful, the face glows, the eyes become softer, and the presence becomes magnetic. This beauty rises from the harmony between intellect, emotions, and consciousness. Meditation reduces stress hormones, relaxes the facial muscles, and increases the prana, all of which contribute to the physical radiance. But the deeper transformation happens inside. A meditative person carries serenity, confidence, compassion, and clarity, which together produces an aura of beauty that cannot be manufactured externally. In scriptures, this is called tejas, the inner luminosity that reflects purity and alignment. Even kings would seek the presence of sages whose faces glowed with tejas. Gurudev carries this ancient understanding into the modern world, showing that when the mind is free, beauty becomes natural, effortless, and timeless. Thus, meditation is not only a path to peace, it is also the path to a deeper spiritual beauty that elevates the entire being. Now, Gurudev said the heart takes pride in old things while the mind chases new things. So, how can this understanding help resolve the inner conflict? Jagadev, this observation reveals a core psychological truth. The mind seeks excitement, change, novelty, and stimulation. The heart seeks stability, memory, depth, and belonging. When these two impulses clash, people feel confused, wanting both adventure and security, both change and continue, and the continuity. Gurudev's wisdom helps seekers understand that both tendencies are natural. Instead of resisting them, one must balance them. The mind should explore, innovate, and evolve. The heart should connect, nurture, and preserve. Meditation harmonizes these energies. It quiets restless thoughts while strengthening emotional roots. When the two align, decision making becomes easier and inner clarity emerges. This insight is particularly important in relationships, careers, and spiritual life. By integrating the freshness of the mind and the depth of the heart, one begins to live with creativity and stability simultaneously, a state Gurudev describes as true fulfillment. Now, what did Gurudev mean when he said that we feel proud of old friendships and not new ones? Gurudev beautifully highlighted a psychological truth. Our sense of pride emerges from depth, not novelty. When he asked, old friends में गर्व होता है ना, new friends, new modern friends में थोड़ी होता है, he emphasized that human beings naturally value relationships that have stood the test of time. Old friendships carry shared memories, joy, pain, evolution, and trust. These becomes a source of inner richness. Today's world celebrates the new gadgets, the iPhone 17, the new cars, new technology, because they stimulate the mind. But real nourishment comes from the Pyar Purana, the ancient love that Meera sang about. Relationships mature like wine with time, they become more meaningful. Gurudev wanted us to introspect. Are we investing in our relationships or only chasing novelty? Are we nurturing what truly sustains us? Old relationships reflect stability, loyalty, and rootedness, all qualities essential for mental well being. From a Vedic standpoint, Gurudev's message is deeply traditional. The Sanatana Dharma says samskaras of many births shape relationships. Old bonds do not start in this lifetime, they continue across incarnations. That's why Gurudev said, हम सब पहली बार नहीं मिले, हमारे रिश्ते बहुत पुराने हैं. Proudness arises because the relationship carries karmic depth. In scriptures, the friendship, the mitratvata, becomes sacred only with time and shared dharma. New friendships are mind based, old ones are heart based. This distinction is essential to spiritual living. Now, Gurudev spoke about the Preet Purani from Rajasthan and Mirabai. How is this significant today? Yeah, the Preet Purani, the ancient Rava, is a very poetic yet a profound concept. Gurudev linked it to Mirabai's devotion, highlighting that genuine affection carries the timelessness. Today, relationships are often transactional and based on convenience, but Mira's love for Krishna was unconditional, spanning lifetimes. Gurudev said he even made an English series titled Ancient Love, emphasizing how our deepest connections transcend the boundaries of language, nationality, and time. The significance today is that people are lonely despite being hyper connected. Ancient love teaches us emotional sustainability, depth, patience, and spiritual resonance. These qualities build not only just love relationships, but every human connection, family, community, nation, and humanity as a whole. In Vedic Dharma, the Prita Purani resonates with the Purva Janam Samskaras, the memory impressions from past births. Many texts from the Bhagavad Purana to Yoga Vasistha state that divine love is ancient because the soul itself is ancient. Meera symbolizes this eternal bond. Gurudev reminded Rajasthan of its spiritual heritage of Meera, the Pannavadhai, and saints who lived and embodied the ancient love. It isn't sentimentalism, it's the continuity of Dharma. When relationships are anchored in spirituality, they naturally become ancient in a sense, timeless, selfless, and radiant and liberating. Now, Gurudev said that when he travels globally, people never feel like foreigners. How is this possible? Gurudev's statement reflects the essence of human consciousness. When he travels, be it to Europe, South America, Japan, or Africa, people instantly feel connected to him and to each other. He said, किसी को नहीं लगता कि कोई पराया है दिल से हम सब जुड़े हुए हैं. This is experiential truth, not a philosophical claim. Meditation, Kriya, and breath practices silence the mind and open the heart. When the heart opens, the boundaries dissolve, cultural, linguistic, or national. You start seeing the person, not the nationality. This is why the Art of Living courses bring people of 180 plus countries together seamlessly. The inner connection is older than any external identity. From a dharmic lens, this reflects a Vedic idea of Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, the world as one family. Gurudev is reawakening this ancient sentiment in modern times. Forgiveness is only a bodily label, but soul to soul, we are eternally connected. Saints, the rishis, the yogis always saw the world through this lens. When Gurudev says we are connected since the Anadikal, since beginningless and the beginningless time, he is echoing the Vedic cosmology. This is why people feel instantly close to him, even without sharing language or culture. Now, what is the first point of the art of living according to Gurudev? Later, the first point principle Gurudev mentioned is maintain equanimity of mind amidst oppositions and ups and downs. That is, the opposite values are complementary and enhances each other's values. Life will always have fluctuations, gain, loss, praise, blame, success, failure, comfort, discomfort. These are inevitable, but suffering arises when we lose balance. The equanimity or the samanata is the anchor. Without it, even small incidents shake us deeply. Through Sudarshan Kriya, Pranayama, meditation, and knowledge, one gains the inner stability. Mental resilience is not taught in school, it must be cultivated. Gurudev insists that the ability to remain centered despite chaos is true strength. This is the foundation of living skillfully. Now, this principle is also the first teaching of the Bhagavad Gita. Krishna tells Arjuna, Samatvam Yoga Uchyate. Equanimity is yoga. Without samatva, dharma cannot be upheld. Even yagyas begin with the practitioner seated in mental balance. Gurudev is bringing the ancient yogic wisdom in a simple, practical modern language. All Vedic rituals, from meditation to austerities, primarily aim at equanimity. It is not emotional suppression, it is emotional mastery. Now, Gurudev's second point is accepting people as they are. Why is this crucial? गुरुदेव explain हम चाहते हैं हर आदमी हमारे जैसा हो. That's not possible. This is a revolutionary understanding. Most stress in relationships comes from unrealistic expectations. We want others to behave according to our mind, our preferences, our pace, but each person is a unique package of impressions or samskaras, the upbringing, the biology, and tendencies. Acceptance is not resignation, it is intelligent engagement. When we accept people as they are, conflict reduces, harmony increases, and communication becomes authentic. This principle transforms families, workplaces, and communities. In Vedas, acceptance is a dharma by itself. Scriptures emphasize the swabhava, one's inherent nature. We must interact according to the person's nature, not our imagination. Saints accept everyone because they see the divine in all. Gurudev's teaching is deeply aligned with the Vedic view that people evolve at different paces. Acceptance creates compassion, and compassion creates unity. Now, Gurudev's third point was don't be a football of others' opinions. What does this teach us? Gurudev's phrase is simple yet profoundly transformative. People's opinions change like whether unstable, emotional, reactive, and often uninformed. If we allow our emotions, decisions, or self-worth to be tossed around by them, we lose the inner stability. Life becomes exhausting because we try to please others or live up to their fluctuating judgments. Gurudev reminds us that our energy drains not due to events but due to reactions to opinions. Through Sudarshan Kriya and meditation, we strengthen the pranic body, making us less reactive. Then opinions stop influencing our peace. Instead of being a football, we become a lighthouse, steady, luminous, and guiding others to presence. This clarity is essential in modern life, where social media has amplified the external judgment. Now, the Vedic tradition echoes the same teaching in the Mahabharata. Bhishma says the world will always speak praise or blame, the wise remain untouched. Dharma never depends on public opinion, it depends on inner conscience. A person swayed by opinions loses discrimination or viveka. Saints and rishis perform tapas not to impress but to attain purity. Gurudev's teaching reflects the Atma Sthiti, establishing oneself in the self beyond praise and criticism. This shift liberates a person from emotional slavery. The Gurudev's fourth point was forgiveness. Don't sit on others' mistakes and do not see intentions behind others' mistakes. So how should we understand this? The holding on to others' mistakes is like holding burning coal. It burns us, not them. Gurudev often says that keeping grudges is an unnecessary emotional burden. When we repeatedly replay someone's wrong, we imprison ourselves in the past. Forgiveness doesn't justify the mistake, it frees us from its emotional weight. In relationships, the mistakes are inevitable, but carrying them disturbs the mental peace, sleep, productivity, and harmony. Gurudev's teaching asks us to drop the baggage, breathe deeply, and move on. Through Kriya and meditation, the emotional residue dissolves. Forgiveness then becomes effortless, not force. It restores the innocence and reconnects the hearts. Now, in Dharma, the forgiveness or Shama is one of the highest virtues. The Manusmriti calls it the ornament of the brave. Even Devas worship Lord Shiva as Ashutosha, one who forgives instantly. Keeping someone's mistake in memory blocks compassion and binds the karma. Letting go elevates consciousness and purifies the subtle body. Gurudev's emphasis is rooted deeply in scriptures. Shama Virasya Bhushanam. Forgiveness belongs to the strong, not to the weak. Now, the fifth point was living in the present moment. Why is it essential? The past is memory, the future is imagination. Only the present is life. Most suffering comes from either dwelling in past wounds or worrying about future uncertainties. Gurudev teaches that meditation aligns the mind with the present moment, a vibrant, fresh, powerful in the present. Stress dissolves, creativity expands, intuition awakens, and joy becomes natural. When we stop carrying yesterday into today, we feel lighter and more alive. Gurudev said, पुरानी बातों को लेकर परेशान मत रहना. This is mental hygiene. Just as we breathe daily, we must cleanse the mind daily through breath, kriya, and meditation. Living in the present deepens relationships and improves efficiency. The Upanishads declare now is the only reality. The yogic path begins with awareness of the present. Even yajnas require the mind to be anchored in here and now. The past exists only in memory, and memory as a vritti or modification of mind. To transcend vrittis as yoga, Gurudev is re-establishing the ancient Vedic wisdom in practical form, awareness of the present as a spiritual discipline. Now, Gurudev mentioned four essential pillars of life: the bhakti, the yukti, the shakti, and the mukti. Can you explain them? Yes, these four pillars are a holistic roadmap to living skillfully and spiritually. Mukti is inner freedom, freedom from fear, anxiety, and mental turbulence. The bhakti is the sweetness of devotion, the ability to surrender and love deeply. Shakti is energy, the drive, the enthusiasm, the collective strength required for worldly success. Yukti is strategy, intelligence, discrimination, and practical wisdom. Gurudev's insight is that a fulfilled life requires balance among all four. Spirituality isn't escapism, it enriches the practical world. Similarly, success in society must be supported by inner freedom and devotion. This balance creates a powerful, joyful, compassionate individual. Now, these four correspond to ancient Vedic ideals of mukti or moksha, bhakti or the upasana, the shakti or the tapas, and yukti or the vidya. In dharma, no single aspect is sufficient. A bhakta without yukti becomes emotional. A strategist without bhakti becomes egoistic. A powerful person without mukti becomes dangerous. Gurudev has revived the complete Sanatan vision in a contemporary format. Now, why did Gurudev say, first feel free, only then can you love deeply? Neither love is possible only when the mind is light. Burdened minds cannot express affection freely. Stress, insecurity, and fear suffocate the heart. Gurudev says that the freedom or the mukti must precede devotion or bhakti. When one feels mentally unrestrained, unrestricted, love flows naturally without conditions, fear, or possessiveness. Sudarshan Kriya helps release the suppressed emotions and brings inner clarity. This openness allows deep relationships with people, with nature, with the divine. In Vedic philosophy, the soul is inherently free or the Nitya Mukta. Love is the soul's nature, but ignorance and attachments cloud its expression. When the constraints dissolve through sadhana, devotion becomes spontaneous. This is why sages loved universally. Now, Gurudev emphasized a vast perspective of life. How does this bring strength? Jagdev, when we see life from a broad perspective, minor problems appear insignificant. Gurudev said, देखते देखते 40-50 साल निकल गए और निकल जाएंगे. This helps us realize the temporary nature of challenges. A vast view reduces anxiety, increases patience, and brings maturity. It shifts focus from problems to possibilities. Meditation expands consciousness. With expansion comes strength. Now, Vedic texts repeatedly describe life as momentary compared to the infinite journey of the soul. Understanding impermanence gives courage, attachment weakens, wisdom strengthens. This is why detachment is considered a source of power. Now, what is the meaning of Shivotsava, the inner festival of strength? Now, the Shivotsava means celebrating the inner solidarity, the solidity, the unshakable core of our being. Gurudev said, ऐसी मजबूती हो जाए कि कोई आपकी मुस्कान ना छीन सके. When the mind is centered, nothing can disturb your peace. Shiva is the principle of auspiciousness and stillness within us. Through sadhana, we awaken this strength. In scripture, Shiva symbolizes both dissolution and inner stability. He is achala or unmoved. Celebrating Shivotsava means living with an unbroken smile, unaffected by external turbulence. This is the festival of consciousness. Now, Gurudev said love is essential. Without it, life has no rasa. Explain this. The love adds depth, joy, meaning, and color to existence. Without love, life becomes mechanical. Gurudev often says, जिसके जीवन में प्रेम नहीं उसके उसमें कोई रस नहीं. Love brings enthusiasm, compassion, and emotional nourishment. Through meditation, emotional barriers dissolve, making love natural. In Natya Shastra, rasa is the essence of emotional experience. Bhakti is the highest rasa. Without love, even duty becomes dry. Devotion transforms ordinary life into a sacred journey. Now, Gurudev said that in Kali Yuga, the collective strength or the Sangha Shakti is essential. Why does he say so? Because today's world is fast, complex, and interconnected. Individual effort is limited, collective effort is powerful. Communities practicing meditation, service, and harmony create a massive positive impact. Art of Living is a global example of this. In scriptures, Kali Yuga is overcome not by individual tapas but by collective kirtan, satsang, and service. Sangha Shakti Kali Yuga, unity itself is power. Now, how do Bhakti and Mukti help in success according to Gurudev? Like the Bhakti gives the emotional richness, Mukti gives the mental clarity. Together, they create confidence and inner stability, which are essential for success. Bhakti aligns intention with Dharma, Mukti frees the mind from fear. These are the foundations of righteous worldly achievements. Now, how do Yukti and Shakti help in society? The Yukti gives intelligent planning, Shakti gives energy. Without both actions fail, Gurudev encourages people to combine wisdom with enthusiasm. In Vedic governance, Kings were trained in strategy or niti and power or bala. Society prospers when both exist and coexist harmoniously. Now, Gurudev said sadhana gives all four: the bhakti, the yukti, the shakti, and the mukti. How? The Sudarshan Kriya cleanses the emotions, the bhakti sharpens the clarity, the yukti boosts the energy, the shakti, and gives freedom from mental noise, mukti. Meditation harmonizes the energy system, the entire system. Now, sadhana is tapas, the japa, the dhyana, all rooted in Vedic practice. These naturally awaken devotion, wisdom, strength, and liberation. Now, Gurudev mentioned 700 scientific studies on Sudarshan Kriya. Why is this significant? Like, it validates the ancient wisdom through modern research. Studies show improved immunity, 5 times stronger, reduced stress, anti-aging effects, emotional resilience, and enhanced brain function. This makes the Kriya credible globally. Vedic practices were always scientific. Modern research simply reaffirms what rishis discovered through deep meditation. Now, Gurudev said, leave your worries here and go smiling. What is the deeper meaning? Jagadev, the atmosphere of a satsang dissolves negativity. When you surrender your burdens, the mind becomes lighter. Gurudev invites people to trust existence. The temples, the homas, and the satsangs traditionally serve this purpose. Psychic cleansing, leaving worries, is symbolic of surrender to the divine. Now, Gurudev said, pray sincerely, God will fulfill your wish. How should we understand this? Like, the sincere prayer aligns the mind, heart, and intention. When internal alignment happens, manifestation becomes natural. Gurudev encourages people to pray with clarity and trust. A Vedic tradition says that when prayer is pure, the Shuddha Sankalpa, the divine response, prayer is energy, energy manifests reality. Gurudev reminds us of this timeless truth. Now, Gurudev spoke about the ancient love, the Preet Purani. Why does the ancient love carry such a spiritual depth? Yes, when Gurudev speaks of the Preet Puran, he touches a universal emotional truth. Yes, that the relationships rooted in shared time, shared experiences, shared joys and challenges develop a depth modern or instant connections cannot replicate. Ancient love has layers of trust, understanding, and soul memory. Gurudev says we often feel we have met before because spiritual bonds strengthen this lifetime. When we meet someone with whom we share karmic connection, comfort arises instantly without needing a long introduction. The mind may not remember, but the consciousness recognizes. Such relationships are healing, supportive, and stabilizing. In today's fast world of instant messaging and instant friendships, we forget the richness of sustained emotional investment. Gurudev is reminding the younger generation that relationships are not upgrades like phones, they grow only when you nurture them over time. Now, the Vedas refer to this as Runa Bandhana or ancestral, karmic, and soul based connections that continue across births. Even the Bhagavatam says the people who love deeply have shared many lifetimes. This is why the ancient bonds like the Guru Shishya or the deep friendships hold immense spiritual power. Mirabai also sang of her ancient relationship with Krishna. Rajasthan's soil itself carries this tradition of eternal love, which Gurudev beautifully invoked in his satsang. Now, Gurudev mentioned that despite traveling the world, he never feels anyone is foreign. How is this possible? This is because Gurudev experiences unity at the level of consciousness, not physical identity. When we are centered, we realize that human emotions like love, fear, joy, longing are universal. Division arises from the mind, but connection arises from the heart. Meditation expands awareness so that narrow boundaries dissolve. You begin to see the same life force, the same spark of divinity in everyone. Gurudev often says, when you are natural, the whole world feels like your family. His travels reflect this truth. People from different languages, cultures, and nations feel instantly connected to him because he radiates unconditional acceptance. Now, the Upanishads declare the Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, the whole world is one family. This is not poetry, it is a metaphysical truth. The soul is timeless and borderless. When consciousness expands, the nationalism, the language, the skin color, everything becomes secondary. Rishis have always roamed freely across civilizations because they never saw the other. Gurudev stands in that same lineage. He lives the Vedic realization of openness. Therefore, no one feels foreign to him, nor does he feel foreign to anyone or anywhere. Now, why does Gurudev say our relationships are not new, our bonds are ancient? Because consciousness does not begin at birth. According to Gurudev, the soul carries impressions, tendencies, and connections from many lifetimes. When you meet someone and immediately feel comfort, it's a sign of karmic connection. These invisible threads create familiarity. Gurudev says that satsangs often bring together souls who already have spiritual history. This is why people feel so deeply connected to him. Even on the first meeting, such bonds arise from lifetimes of devotion, service, or shared spiritual journeys. The Garud Purana describes the Jnana Janmani Sambandha, relationships spanning multiple births. No connection is accidental. Every meeting is karmically orchestrated. The Guru disciple bond is especially ancient. In every era, the same souls return to continue their spiritual evolution. This Gurudev's statement aligns with both scriptural and experiential truth. Now, Gurudev explained that technology thrives on newness, but relationships thrive on oldness. Why this contrast? Like the technology evolves by replacing the old and newer phones, the faster devices, better models, human relationships, however deep and true continuity. Trust cannot be downloaded, love cannot be upgraded with a software patch. Emotional richness comes from time, patience, and shared growth. Gurudev reminds us not to treat relationships like gadgets. Modern culture promotes instant everything, but inner fulfillment comes from depth, not novelty. Ancient friendships give grounding and emotional safety. Quality is essential for mental health. The Sanatana Dharma celebrates the smriti, the memory, the tradition, the continuity. Love grows through remembrance, rituals, and shared history. Mirabai says Prita Purani is a testament to this. Relationships are sacred because they are tied to dharma, not convenience. Gurudev is re-establishing this timeless wisdom in simple words. Now, why does Gurudev emphasize that all living beings are connected since time immemorial? The Anadikal say. Neither because the universe is not a random accident, consciousness is interconnected. Modern quantum physics also hints at non local connectedness. When the mind becomes still through meditation, one experiences the separation as an illusion. Gurudev says that souls are ancient companions on a journey through lifetimes. That is why you feel instant belongingness in satsang. Your inner being recognizes the old soul connection. Scriptures call this the Anadi Sambandha, connections without beginning. Souls are eternal, therefore, their relationships are eternal. Gurudev's teachings reflect this metaphysical truth. We are threads of the same cosmic fabric. Now, Gurudev's first point in Art of Living was equanimity. How can one cultivate this in a daily life? The Shama, which is also a Shata Shampati. The equanimity comes from the inner centeredness. Daily practices like Sudarshan Kriya reset the nervous system, removing emotional turbulence. Emotional meditation strengthens the ability to remain calm amidst chaos. Gurudev advises observing situations rather than reacting to them. When awareness expands, problems lose their sharpness. Accepting that ups and downs are part of life helps maintain balance. The Bhagavad Gita defines yoga as samatvam, the ability to remain even minded in the pleasure and pain. This is considered the highest spiritual achievement. Gurudev is teaching the same Gita wisdom in modern language. Now, Gurudev's second point was accepting people as they are. Why is this so powerful? Because conflict arises when we insist others behave according to our expectations. Acceptance brings peace instantly. It frees us from resistance and strain. Gurudev teaches that each mind is unique. Expecting uniformity is unrealistic. Acceptance does not mean weakness, it is maturity. It preserves relationships and keeps the heart open. The Vedas say the prakritivyo na muktam. Mun kati. Beings act according to their nature. Understanding this dissolves anger. Gurudev's teaching aligns perfectly with this ancient principle. Gurudev emphasized not being shaken by others' opinions. How does meditation help with this? Yes, Jagar, meditation quiets the mental clutter and stabilizes the emotional core. When the inner critic calms, the external critics lose power. You become self reliant and confident. Gurudev says that when prana is high, the reactions are low. Meditation raises the prana, creates emotional resilience. Scripturally, this is called sthita pragya, a steady intellect. The realized one remains unaffected by praise or blame. Meditation leads one toward the state. Now, how does not holding on to others' mistakes transform relationships? It brings freshness. When you let go, the relationship becomes present again. Resentment blocks affection, forgiveness restores it. Gurudev often says the heart is like a lotus, it opens only when we are free from mud. Shama is defined, even Shiva forgives instantly. Forgiveness is purification of the heart and is essential for spiritual progress. Now, why did Gurudev say life is momentary, shanik, and how does this help us? Because realizing life's brevity makes us value each moment. It prevents overthinking and encourages gratitude. If we start prioritizing what truly matters, the peace, the relationships, the service, the Vedas describe life as a bubble on water, beautiful yet temporary. Awareness of impermanence brings detachment and wisdom. Jagadev.